Spectrum Health and Human Services is located throughout Western New York. For an appointment, call 716-539-5500. If you are in a crisis, you can call 716-710-5172. Their website is www.shswny.org.
Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to the second Room 9 and Spectrum Health and Human Services collaboration episode. I am hoping you guys very much enjoyed the first one. That was about the Holistic Health Project. This episode is about an awesome grant called the Pro Social Grant. I sit down with two peer support specialists, Jaclyn Vaccaro and Heather Randolph. Heather Randolph is actually the senior peer support specialist, and I have a conversation with these two ladies about what they do as far as getting people who are struggling with substance use, who are struggling with mental health, and who are looking to go and have an awesome time in a safe and sober environment. And that's what they do. They set events up for people of the ages of 16 to 30, and they get to go do a lot of awesome things that you could find out more about by calling the U Social line at 716-539-5507. and find out what they got going on. So if you're looking for an awesome, fun time without having to worry about being triggered or having drugs and alcohol around, even though alcohol is a drug, you can call that number and have a good time. Check it out. See what they got going on. Find out more information by listening to this podcast as well. That'll take care of you. And as always, it's always a pleasure doing work with Spectrum. They have been around the community for well over 40 years and has no relation to the stupid cable company Spectrum, just so you know. But anywho, I'm just going to allow this episode to go on and speak for itself. So I hope you guys enjoy this. Be sure to check out everything Spectrum's got going on at their website. Call them. And you can also look out for Spectrum. September 7th, the Out of Darkness Walk at Canal Side is happening. I believe check-in is at 8:30 a.m. The walk's at 10:30 a.m. It ends at 1, but definitely go check that out. That is for mental health awareness and suicide prevention, and all the proceeds for that go to help funding research that is looking more into helping those who are struggling with mental health issues. Other than that, take it easy. Much love to everybody. I love each and every one of you guys, as always, and have a great week, and I cannot wait to talk to you next time. All right, guys. Enjoy. Peace.
Like I really enjoy that you have your child.
Oh, my daughter, yeah.
Your daughter do the intro.
Intros. I
thought that was really great.
I just had her do that. It was funny. She loves it. I tried doing a podcast with my son, and he got so, because he's 12, and he got so microphone shy. I was like, dude, you don't shut up when I'm talking to you about stuff. And then I tried to get him in front of a microphone. It's funny how the presence of a microphone affects people.
Well, just ignore it. That's what I'm trying to do.
It's in my face.
Just ignore it. That's
It's
why
in
I'm
my face.
Sort of spinning.
All right, well, let's do some introductions. Heather Randolph,
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
What is your role, your position, your creativity that is involved at Spectrum Health and Human Services?
So I am the senior peer support specialist with Spectrum Health and Human Services.
It's beautiful. And what does that involve?
A lot. It's morphed into something that I didn't really expect. When I first started with Spectrum, I was solely focused on going out into the community and meeting with individuals and supporting them from my lived experience. Right? By definition, a peer uses their lived experience to help others.
Mm-hmm.
Right? There was only me that I was aware of at that time. I think we're now like 16 big throughout all of the sites.
So you kind of started the whole.
So they had it pretty mapped out before I came, the referral process, and they had a picture of what they wanted it to be. And then with my work experience and my lived experience, I have played a part in helping it grow.
That's awesome.
I currently supervise a team of 9, and that's kind of my day to day. And we're doing this pro social which has been renamed Young Adult Recreational by the participants. And what else do I do? Do I do anything else? Drink coffee, eat bonbons.
So you're technically Jaclyn's boss.
I am her direct supervisor, her mentor.
And Jaclyn, you said you have been a peer advocate. What is the correct term you want me to use, Heather?
It's all based on titles. Jackie, what's your title?
Peer support advocate.
Peer support advocate. Okay. And did you have to get like your SERPA for that?
I'm certified in SERPA and New York State mental health.
Okay, awesome. And you just started doing that in April?
Yes, I'm also being certified in the youth peer as well.
Okay, that is beautiful. Because I just actually took my classes, I think, around in April. I just have my provisional still. I still got to do my 500 hours and all of that jazz,
and take the test. But you are a certified recovery coach?
Mm-hmm. I am, yeah. That's something I want to start offering with Room 9 services down the road here. I just have to figure out what I have to do with Oasis in order to be able to do that, which I'm sure they've already tried stopping me from working.
You mean as a train the trainer? You want to provide the trainings to the individuals? What is it you're trying to
just
morph into?
I would like to be moving more towards coaching as far as like even life coaching in a sense, but with people who have been involved in recovery down the road. My aim would be to go for people who have had more sustained recovery time. Right now I'm working with people who have, just got out of long-term treatment and stuff like that, but I would like to eventually go with people who have had sustained time and are looking to really push their life and career to like the next step. My vision is still kind of unclear, but it's coming together.
I can see
as far as that.
I can see your vision.
So how many peers? So do you meet with one-on-one individuals?
Yes, I have 30 clients on my caseload from ages 18 to probably in their 50s.
30 clients, holy crap! You're superwoman over there.
I try.
That's awesome. And tell me, do you love it? Do you enjoy it? What's your favorite part about it?
It's actually nice to go home and realize you did make a difference in somebody's life. When growing up, you didn't feel like you'd ever do that. And now seeing the texts I get after I leave, it's definitely changed my look on life.
That's awesome. Yeah, I felt the same way. When I kind of narrowed down my drug use, one of the biggest reasons was going to work and feeling empty when I would leave. Like, what am I doing? I'm too smart. I have too much to offer people to be working in a kitchen or cutting area rugs for the rest of my life. And that was one of the biggest things. Like, I love being able to sit down with people and just know that, hey, I'm here to help people. I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
And I always tell people, and I'm sure you feel the same way, helping people helps me the most.
Yeah.
And I feel so much better when I'm done and I leave.
And they're not only learning from you, you're learning from them as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, that's probably my favorite part about it. Is definitely doing that. So you guys have been running the roost. That's awesome. 30 people. I have
the caseloads. So the caseloads.
And I'm like, oh, okay, that's enough.
So to say that she's working actively with 30 people, so it sort of ebbs and flows based on the participants' desire to meet, right? Mm-hmm. So the goal is to meet everybody where they're at. The objective is to try to get them to meet twice a month, right? But a lot of individuals are only up for once a month, right? Some people are once a week, 3 times a week. It all really depends.
Is individualized, yeah.
If they could see me every day, they would.
Do you kind of specify, do you work with just women or do you work with?
I've had men referrals, but none of them seem to want to work with me right now. But the women I get along with very well.
I remember being in long term, and I was at Horizon Village at the end of, they had the females and the males still together. I think they changed that to my last week.
That was a nightmare.
And I remember I always felt, trying to at least as much as I possibly can put myself in a female's, shoes. I feel like they would not be as comfortable opening up about a lot of things with males sitting around all the time.
I guess with me, I've had brothers my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
So, and guy friends. So it's easier for me, I feel like sometimes. But women are the same too now that I've realized. Like, I never used to be friends with girls really, but now that I'm working with a caseload, I can relate to them a lot more.
And her caseload is split. She has individuals from 30 and up, and then the 21 to 30-year-olds
Okay.
on her direct caseload. We also have youth peer advocates who work predominantly with children up until they're 20 years old. So we have a very diverse population, just as diverse as our clients are.
That's a good deal. I love it.
When reviewing referrals, because I assign all the referrals to the staff,
So
I
you
try to
get to choose try to figure out who would be the best fit for your...
Yeah, I would say 95% of the time, I take the time to read what the clinicians write.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a referral that's done through our computer system. It gets populated onto my clinician's homepage, and there's a box in there where they write their description of who the individual is, what they're looking for from peer support, and I try to take the time to read that and to think of who might work best with who. I think that to say that all women want to work with female peer support specialists and all men want to work with male peer support specialists is sort of a narrow view.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right? So we try to shake it up a little bit, mix it up, make sure the diversity is there. And then if someone doesn't work well with Jackie and would prefer a male peer, then I take the time to review the rosters and take a look at who would work best with that individual.
Sweet. And you said you have how many peer
No,
advocates?
there's 9.
9.
9 that work directly under me, and there are 15 throughout the agency,
Okay.
throughout Spectrum.
That is awesome. Now, Heather, you said you have a story in recovery as well, correct? I have to touch base on that with both of you.
In order to be a certified recovery peer advocate, so in order to be a certified addictions recovery coach, you don't have to have lived experience, right?
Now, when they say, this was my question, when they always say lived experience, I know people who are with, what are you shaking your head at me for? I know people who, family members, parents or whatever, siblings who have gone through addiction and all substance use with their family members, as far as their children or their brothers and sisters. Would you consider that lived experience?
There's a specific certification.
For
It's
that.
the Certified Recovery Peer Advocate Family Certification.
So the SERPA.
So the family, the SERPA F, yes.
Yep. SERPA F.
Yes. So you have to have the lived experience, right? So I am OMH and OASIS certified.
Okay.
So I have lived experience with recovering from my own mental health challenges and addictions.
I love it. How long have you been in recovery?
I am a woman in long-term sustained recovery, and I just celebrated 12 years clean this time.
That is beautiful.
This time.
That is exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you yelled at me when I said something negative about, I don't know if it was AA or NA. Are you involved more in AA or NA? One of the two?
So I had been in recovery for 8 years when I chose to use again, right? And in those 8 years, I was very robotic in my approach to recovery.
Mm-hmm.
I was very brainwashed, and it was 12-step programs were the only way, and this is how we do it, and there's no room for error or leeway. During my lapse in sustained recovery, continuous, I came back with a different understanding. And my understanding was that I would not lose me in the process of learning how to live a new way of life again. So this time around, I'm very open to other pathways. I have a 20-year-old daughter who is coming up through the ranks of recovery, and I identified early on in my process that the 12 steps are not the only way, that there are other pathways. And then through my training in the 2010 through 2013, when I was certified, my mind was opened and my heart was open to all the different pathways, and I became curious about it. And what I've been able to identify recently is that the youth are not able to identify with the 12-step programs, and I don't believe it's because of an innate inability to surrender. I believe that it's just a different understanding. They think differently. The new generation has their own way of being and understanding. So I hear people say that the 12 steps need to change with the time. The 12-step programs need to change with the times. I strongly disagree with that. I believe society needs to change with the times and continue to develop programs for the recovery process that are geared towards the youth so that they can find their own way. There's fitness recovery programs. There's what we're doing with the young adult recreational program. I would like individuals to be able to find recovery through recreation and connection.
Mm-hmm.
I hope that answered your question.
No,
I got
it
a
did.
little passionate there for a second.
Which I love. Passion is great to come out, especially on this podcast. I agree with you. I went through, actually just did an episode with a good buddy of mine that I haven't even posted yet, but we kind of went through the 12 steps and took the word God out and kind of just talked about them and how anybody in life could benefit from going through those. No, whether you're in drug abuse or not, you can really improve your individuality through the 12 steps.
I think that is the place that brought me to a deeper spiritual understanding. If I happen to be at a meeting,
Mm-hmm.
I don't read everything as it's written on paper as we understand it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not God as we understand him. It's like as we understand it. Because I was raised Roman Catholic, incense swinging and all of that, and I rebelled against that early on in my life. When I came in, I had a real aversion to the word God. Like I could actually feel myself cringe. But it's in allowing the open-mindedness that the 12 steps speak of that's brought me to other pathways. I'm unable to comfortably speak at 12-step meetings because that is not my only tool that I use for recovery. A lot of it is, like the spiritual stuff,
Mm-hmm.
the earth, the wind, the moon, the stars.
Earth, wind, and fire.
Exactly. But the 12-step programs are what have helped me to become who I am today, for sure.
Awesome. That's great. Now, Jaclyn, what's your story like?
I do not have a substance use background, but I do have mental health. From an early age. Around the age of 5. I lost my mom at 9,
Mm-hmm.
but she was diagnosed with breast cancer when I was 5. So ever since that, I never really got the help I needed when I was younger, and I didn't want anyone else to have to go through what I did growing up with the loss of a parent.
Mm-hmm.
And then as I got older, it kind of backfired on me, and I had a very rough year for a little bit with, suicide ideations and everything, and I'm definitely better. It's been 3 years, but it was tough, and nobody understood what I was going through, so I felt alone even though I knew I wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
And thank God for working at Spectrum because they really did help me.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, my brother and sister died when I was 15 in a car accident, and I didn't even remember, I should say, how much it even affected me. It took me probably a decade to look back, and I would be hanging out with buddies, and we'd be talking about high school, and I was like, I don't remember any of this.
Yeah.
Like, what happened? And the mind is so powerful. I can't imagine it having to really, 5 years old, you're like in the moment, enjoying life, and then all of a sudden you are thrown in your face that death is real and it can come at any moment and take anybody it wants. And that's got to be crazy tough for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, she was in remission, and then as soon as that 5 years hit is when it spread everywhere, and maybe a matter of 2 months she was gone. So it was like she was there, and then
The
she
snap
wasn't.
of the fingers. Yeah, that's all. Well, good for you. That's awesome to hear how good you're doing. Because a lot of people don't. I mean, that's tough to go through. That's awesome. And you started working with Spectrum, not working like official, but they helped you out, I guess?
No, I kind of just was told by somebody to apply there because I had my associates in social work,
Mm-hmm.
and I started at the bottom, and I've worked my way up
Kind
in
of worked
4
your way
years. Yeah.
That's beautiful. That's awesome. I've enjoyed everybody that I have sat down with at Spectrum. You guys are awesome. They have awesome people here. And I think I'm very excited to kind of go through and sit down with everybody and keep talking with them.
You've been you are a great asset to the peer team. Like I'm grateful to have you.
Even when she hangs up on me.
I don't. It's not an actual hang up.
She doesn't want to hear my voice every day.
Would that be the first or the 5th call?
Probably the 10th.
I wasn't going to say it.
Oh, that's great. So tell me more about this, the grant. You kind of touched a little bit about it on the phone that you guys receive and kind of your main mission as far as getting people and these youth in recovery and getting them into recreational connection?
Okay, so the name of the grant is the Pro-Social Grant, and I believe that Spectrum became aware of it. It's my understanding that we became aware of it in like May, and I became aware of it in like June of this year. It's an OASIS grant dedicated to 16 to 30-year-old individuals, young adults from the community that can identify with having like a substance overuse or a substance use disorder, which I'm not really fond of that term.
You did say that. Let's touch on that for a second. What's your deal with the substance use?
Well, we'll see how this podcast goes over. So I believe that that there's a lot of studies out there that talk about that drug use is what we do in response to our trauma.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So for those individuals that may have started using when they were 9, there was obviously something going on at that time. So my experience is that the addiction, the substance overuse, the complete attempt at avoidance was in response to stuff that was going on previous to that. Right. So I don't necessarily look at it as a disorder. Okay. You know, it's more of like a response to, more of like a syndrome as opposed to.
Well, there's a lot of discussion, I think, going on out there. My belief has always been that it's always because something has happened and you are numbing out from something. And a lot of people have said, well, what if some people just start using and then it feels good? But I've always tell people the mind is, you know, like we kind of just touched on, the mind is so powerful, yet you can have something traumatic happen to you that you don't even remember.
So wouldn't the people who are using who it feels good to, right? Mm-hmm. Wouldn't those be the individuals who can continue to use and not end up living under a bridge in jail, institutionalized for the majority of their life, right? So there's definitely as many pathways to understanding addiction as there are human ways of thinking, right? So like we all can understand it just a little bit differently, but there are individuals. So I choose an abstinence-based pathway, right? That's not everybody's path. You know, harm reduction is getting a lot of attention these days, and it makes sense to me. And I think that the harm reduction piece, that's kind of what I mean when I'm talking about I'm not sure the 12-step abstinence-based programs need to change. I think that society needs to open their heart and open their minds and modify it a little bit. There are some meetings in our area called MARA, which are for individuals who are utilizing medically assisted treatment, right? Like there's other pathways that can be created to accommodate all of that. I think I got off the mark there.
No, you're not. No, I took you off the mark because I wanted to pick at your issue with the term because I think the language is constantly changing.
Oh, for sure. It's softening and becoming much more trauma informed. I mean, people are becoming gentler with each other, which is sort of where I would like to see this pro-social youth or young adult recreational go, where I would like it to become like a viable pathway for people where the individuals are coming together, they're sharing their experience. Maybe one of the participants is it's only been 24 hours since they used, because there are some guidelines that the young adults are creating, right, to protect themselves and each other. So there may be someone who is just only contemplating whether or not they want to be clean, right? I'm not going to get into the stages of change and all clinical on you, right?
We don't have to do that.
Good. I'm not comfortable there. Someone who's just contemplating not using, or is just curious, like what's out there for them to do besides like hanging out at Kaz Park, playing hacky sack, drinking beer, right? So. And then there's individuals who are in long-term sustained recovery who are attending, and together they can sort of teach each other, right? There are some participants that are members of the 12-step community who bring with them the spiritual principles that they've learned to live by, right? So it's like each one teach one, you know, like, and that's where I would like to see this going.
I feel like there absolutely has to be more events, more things going on that are attracting people in sobriety. And honestly, I absolutely hate using this, but it's very much like it. I grew up in a Christian home, but it was more of a evangelical go to youth group thing. But the one thing I did love about it was youth group, going with groups of kids. I went to Venezuela, helped build an orphanage. I've done some awesome things that I really enjoyed, as much as I could sit here and bash the dogmatic Christian way. But that community, that sense of community, and doing that outreach and saying, hey, I can go here. I feel safe. I don't have to worry, at least hopefully you don't have to worry about somebody selling me drugs or, just putting me in a bad spot. Feel comfortable, you feel connected. As you said, I think connection is the most important part of it. Exactly. And you get to have fun. And I think a lot of people have that opinion that not partying, not doing drugs means boring.
Right, exactly. And I learn a lot from the youth, from the young adults in my life. I'm passionate about a lot of what Spectrum's doing. I'm excited to work here. I don't get up and go, I gotta go to work today. Right? I'm excited, their holistic health project. I've been on fire about that since I heard whispers of it. And then the pro-social young adult recreational program that they're doing. I was excited when I was invited to that meeting and said, what do you think? Some of the youth peer advocates had already met to see where they wanted to go with it before I was brought in. And I just, I'm on fire for it. I'm a little old to participate, right? I might be slightly over 30 years old, but Jackie hears my input. They take it wherever it's going to lead them. And I'm pretty excited. I have, personal experience. Like I said, I have a 20-year-old daughter who is following closely in her generational footsteps, right? And she was dating this boy, and they would always hang out in the park, and they would always do stuff, right? And I was in complete objection to this relationship.
Naturally.
Right. Graduate of Renaissance House, not a proponent of the 12-step programs, kind of playing hacky sack and drinking beer. Even though I would suggest, why don't you guys come here with me? Why don't we go there? To different programs and different, why don't you guys sit down and we'll do the smart recovery meeting? That's nothing that he was ever able to do. So my daughter's first boyfriend OD'd and died on September 3rd of 2017. So I think part of my passion to see this succeed is to prevent that pain for all these families, right? This program was created by, this grant was offered by Oasis in direct response to the opioid crisis, So I think that our youth just need to have something better to do, like the youth programs at your church, like the hub at the Wesleyan Church on McKinley, all of that.
Just not shove doctrine down their face.
Yeah, maybe we could leave the doctrine out of it, but
whatever
works
like
for
a
you.
Good idea.
If doctrine works, well, hallelujah.
No shoving your own ideology down other people's faces, which is great. Yeah,
exactly. The freedom to create something that works for them. That's where I would like to see this go.
I love it. Jaclyn, what's your take on this grant and being a part of it, and what would you like to see happen?
I just think it's a cool way for people to meet each other that don't have anyone else. Some people, their friends, they want to be in recovery and their friends aren't. So they could come here and meet people and eventually gain a new group of friends that are all in recovery. And, they eventually go off and start doing stuff together. They'll still keep coming to the events, but they'll gain new friends and new outlooks on life, and they'll be able to leave those friends that are still using behind. Because you're always going to have people in your group of friends that aren't going to want to be in recovery like you are.
I think a lot of people, I don't know if it's an advantage or not. I never used heroin around anybody except myself, so I didn't really have to go through that whole change my friends thing. But a lot of people I know, they have nobody that I've talked to in rehab. They're all my friends are, addicts. They all use. I cannot be around them anymore. I feel like I don't have any friends, any connections anywhere, and I see that a lot in the recovery community. Well,
they, one of the doctrines, so to speak, is people, places, and things, right? Oh no, if you use, it's, I'm automatically going to use it. A lot of individuals don't realize that it's an inside job, so to speak, that our recovery comes from internalizing what works for us. You went there, you mentioned words, right? With the heroin, in my day, it was different. We drank a beer together, or maybe we smoked a joint. Now the youth are coming into contact with each other, and they're like, hey, nice to meet you. You want to try shooting some dope? It's become that desensitized.
It has, yeah.
And the bottom of life can be found quicker with one substance than it may be found with another. right? And I don't think a bottom's necessary either, but that's a whole nother conversation.
No, we're not going to get into the
But
rock bottom talk.
I think
we
that
could do a whole episode on that.
I really think that that Jackie's got a good handle on what we're trying to do here.
Mm-hmm. This is my question that I like to ask people, because I think it's important. A lot of people are like, what is a peer advocate? What is a recovery coach? And how do you define, yourself, Jackie, the difference between like a peer advocate, recovery coach, as opposed to mental health counselor, and all the other counselors that are out and about and everything else, like a sponsor? How do you kind of define that difference?
I think the difference with us is we do have lived experience with a lot of things, and that's what a lot of clients tell me. It's easier to talk to us because we've been through a lot and we can talk about our story. I feel like sometimes with counselors, they're just hearing their story, like the client stories. The counselor's not giving them their story as well. And sometimes, so I feel like with peers and, recovery coaches, we're able to give them our story as well. And, sometimes we could tell them stuff going on in our life so they, start to feel a bond with us. I've had clients tell me that they trust me more than anyone else because, with a peer, we're non-clinical. So we can't go back, like if the courts call us, if CPS calls us, that's not our job to speak with them. But, I mean, if a counselor asks a question, we'll talk to them. But the only time we'll really go to crisis services is if they're in danger, if, they want to harm themselves. Other than that, we're basically just their friend, and we're there to vent because some of these people don't have anybody to talk to.
Yeah, absolutely nobody. Unless a statement of harm to self or others.
I remember one of my first visits while working with Spectrum. The woman sat me down and said, "So you're paid to be my friend, right?" And my response to that, of course, is no. Friendship happens over time and with mutual respect for each other, but I'm here to support you.
I have one client every time I get in the car that says, "There's my paid friend." I don't know what to say.
Right?
It's
because
like, okay.
it is that kind of relationship, like it really is. And I think that's why I stay in this role. I was well on my way to my KSAC, CRC, like all of that well on my way. When I discovered the peer movement while working for independent living, I was like, wow, I can use my pain and my attempts at complete self-sabotage that were unsuccessful to help another person. Like, right on, man. What else is there? Like, each one, teach one, each one, reach one, nothing about us without us. All of that, just really resonates with me, and it just makes sense.
I think with us too is we have the phones. We do have work phones, and I always tell my clients, even though I only work until 4:30, my phone, if you need to text my phone, if you want to vent to somebody, not that I'm going to answer you, but the next day when I get to work, I will. But if you just need to get stuff out and you have an ex-boyfriend that you're trying to text and you don't want to text them, text my phone. I won't answer, but you'll have that text out and it will make you feel like you sent it to them, but you're really sending it to my phone. I tell them at any point they can text me. Not that I'm going to answer, but it is there to help them, vent what they need to say. And the next day when I do start at 8:30, I will answer.
Well, and exactly. My personal phone says, "I'm sorry, I can't get to you right now. Please ramble on." And then it goes into Heather's version of the 4 agreements. And I tell individuals, I can promise you 1 or 2 things when you call. I'm either going to answer or I'm not. But please leave a voicemail, because that venting, because you say, "Hi, this is Jaclyn," right? That's your voice, and they feel comfortable to talk. We support individuals face to face on the telephone as they're going through their darkest moments in their life, and I'm on fire for it, man. I love it.
It is. It's awesome. I think we touched base on before, you can, and you just mentioned it, you can use your pain to help others, and in return, it helps you with your own pain.
On the other side of that coin, we have to be careful what we're sharing. If we're sharing our trauma story, we have to be mindful of the fact that we can actually activate somebody else's anchor in their trauma. So we don't go into deep details. We just, give enough so that they can understand, yeah, me too. I was there. And I think the thing I love most about my job is I'm not only helping So when I was a peer, I was an overachiever, so I would help a lot of people in a 30-day period, right? And it was approached to me when I was asked if I wanted to take more of a supervisory role. The best sale pitch was, now you can help 10 people help 30 people, right? Like, right on. Like, that makes sense. And I know that peer practice is evidence-based, right? It's proven to work, but it's more on like a grassroots level for me. Like, we need to just kind of get in the pit and love each other.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Heather, you gotta love my phone calls.
I'll try on number 22 to not be like, ugh.
What does she want?
She rushes me off the phone.
Well, because sometimes, sometimes I'm doing other things besides waiting for your phone call. And I know you find that hard to believe, right? But I can't not answer it, because what if something's going on? Like, the safety of my team, and especially you, Jackie, means a lot to me. Mm-hmm. So I can't just send you.
I also can't text and drive. I drive all the way out to Olean for clients, Farmersville.
I'm pretty sure
Arcade.
I just heard a contradictory version of whether you can text and drive prior to our interview here.
That was just a picture.
Conversation. It's not an interview.
But I'm just saying, I don't know those areas that well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've been going to them every day for 6 months, but I don't know the police around there. So I'd rather just call her and get it over with than waiting for that text and, risking my own life.
Well, sure, it makes sense.
Lives
of course,
others.
Please do, yeah.
So those 20 phone calls a day, because I'm always in the car.
And all of them just as important as the last.
Or what are you eating for lunch today?
What are you doing for lunch?
We haven't done that in a while. Today's the day.
Are you guys doing lunch?
I think we might do a late lunch.
late lunch?
I hadn't even thought of that.
I didn't start
that.
till 12:30 today, so.
Oh, that's even
Why
better.
didn't you start until 12:30 today, Jackie?
Because I have my YCO youth peer event tonight.
What is that?
It is at the, I can't say it, Ranchero
Rowanshire.
It's a horse stable. And you don't go horseback riding, but the horses, it's kind of like an anxiety thing. Like,
So so this grant is to cover both two counties, Wyoming County and Erie County. So there's two events per county a month, which means 4 events a month.
Okay.
Tonight's event is in Wyoming County at a draft horse rescue, where it's not like the therapeutic horses in Buffalo, the equine therapy stable. It's just the individuals will get to go, the young adults recreationally will get to go and like learn how to lead the draft horses, brush them, care for them.
Okay.
She assured us that there's no like cleaning of stalls or anything, but
No picking up horse shit.
no horse shit picking up. Just to engage their community. WYCO, as we lovingly call it, Wyoming County, is very rural, and there's such limited resources and things for individuals who are engaging in recovery to do, that's sort of the focus of this grant, is to find new, unusual things that you may not have known were happening right in your backyard. So tonight's event is from
5:30 to 7:30.
And that is in Wyoming County?
Varysburg.
Varysburg. Yeah, I guess Wyoming County is very vague. It takes somebody a while to find the place.
Trying to find the event on my phone, but
That was like, is this an activity that you came up with yourself, or in a meeting with some other people?
I think I kind of talked to Heather about how I wanted to go back riding one time, and then we just started kind of looking into this, and Heather found it.
No, that's great.
Actually, when this grant was first introduced to us and we complied with the directive to see what we could do with it, my supervisor, Robert Kanata, VP of Community-Based Operations, had been at one of the community meetings that he goes to and had met this woman. So he was helping me try to figure out what's in Wyoming County, because I don't really spend a lot of time out there. And he suggested it, and then Jackie and I went about researching it. We drove out there, we looked at it to see what it offered, and she was all about it.
We looked at a bunch of places out there we can try and go to, and some of them were better than others.
I do have to imagine it's tough to find when you're out in the middle of the country and the rural areas, to find, lots of stuff to do.
There's actually a Hidden Valley animal thing too, and a Hidden Valley animal encounter. So
Really, that sounds interesting too. That's good times.
So it really the next event, the next two events for the following month are planned at the last event of this month. So
Okay.
the individuals who attend tonight, the young adults who attend tonight, will decide what they want to do next time.
Oh, that's awesome. So you kind of let them put their say in and their vote in, and
Right. I mean, that's kind of the gist, is that the advisory group can develop their own rules, expectations, and do what they want to do.
okay.
Right, not what I want them to do. Although I have
Makes sense.
I have come up with a few more ideas, and had a conversation with a yoga instructor who is willing to do like recovery based yoga moves, right? Like trauma informed yoga at Como Park.
Me do yoga. Can't even play kickball.
Exactly. Why we'll leave it up
I
to
fell
them.
in love with yoga not too long ago.
We'll leave it up. That's why we'll leave it up to them.
I tell them, I said, you guys can do whatever you want. I will stand back and watch.
Oh, that was the skydiving conversation. Yeah.
Ooh, yeah, that sounds like a good time.
Oh, and Fantasy Island.
I have a feeling there'd be some liability things coming in with the skydiving.
Me personally, probably. They'd be more worried about me than anybody else.
I think we have them sign a form, right? An injury release form. But, I mean, the thrill seeking, we have to expect that it may take a turn like that towards the more thrill seeking based on, how some people who struggle with substance overuse live their lives sort of on the edge, and that being part of the thrill of it all and the lure.
The adrenaline junkies.
We have an event that they're trying to plan for September, one of the participants at the Richard Olmsted complex. They want to do ghost hunting.
Really?
So they're real into that.
Oh,
And then
that's
there's me,
fun.
who's going to end up sleeping
In the car?
back at home.
Right, I might have to join in on this, Ghost. I've never had a paranormal experience ever.
How old are you, Sean?
Gonna be 34 September 1st.
Sorry, 16 to 30-year-olds.
I'm actually 29, so
Good answer. Me too.
I can come help facilitate.
Even like the staff, the Spectrum staff who's involved in the program, we're keeping, they're between the ages of
So you're keeping
18
it all?
and 30, all youth focused and driven.
God, I just got ID'd in the vape store the other day. I can't believe I'm admitting I vape, but I can pass for 18.
I was somewhere and I didn't get ID'd. And I was very upset about
I
it.
bet.
I was very upset. I always get ID'd. Not that I brought my ID that day because I don't drink alcohol, but I walked in and they didn't ID me and I was very upset.
I'm starting to get to that age where I'm like, I'll take it. Unless I don't have my ID on me, then I'm kind of annoyed. But
I went to the casino once and I was 23 at the time. I'm 26 now. I know it's hard to tell. But they thought I was 12. They asked if I wanted the kids menu.
oh, that is awesome.
I should have said yes.
That is great. So I'm going to end this the way I ended the last Spectrum podcast. Do you remember how I did that? Did you listen to it? Probably not. You
I'm
kind
not
of
sure I'm-
jam-packed them in at the
I
last
kinda
moment.
did.
So thanks for taking your time to prepare for this, Heather.
It's either no preparation or over prepare. There's no in between, Sean. I just don't know how to do it.
Honestly, I'm learning how to do that in between because
No preparation on
now
this
that
end.
I'm going on, this is like episode 44 or 45 or something like that, and I'm starting to like, all right, I have to be a little more prepared because I love this free-flowing conversation, and I love the whole, somebody feels like they're sitting down with us and just listening, and it's not like an interview, which I hate that word, speaking of language. And so I usually call it a conversation, but I'm at the point where I have to start, I want to do more research, be more prepared. And because I found the one episode when I was editing it, I'm like, I'm just talking to her about my life issues. What am I doing? I got to stop this shit.
Must have been a conversation with a therapist. Huh?
Yeah, it was. Actually, it was the one with Janet. I remember I was like, why am I just talking about my divorce with her? What am I doing?
Because that is who Janet Gaskin is. That is who she is. I had the privilege of working with her at the Mental Health Association. I worked for a short time with her at Save the Michaels with a family right before. I was actually working with that family when I took the position at Spectrum.
Okay.
So I had to step off of the Save the Michaels thing. So I've known Janet for a while, and she does just kind of bring that out. You just kind of spill it.
She is the best. She picked me up. She was there right when I got released from jail to go up to my short-term rehab.
Oh,
So
right on.
I went with Save the Michaels, yeah, and they were. She was awesome. I love her. Everybody knows her, and excited to finally get her to do I had to twist her arm to do it.
Yeah, she and I were talking about it last night because hers was the first one that I reviewed while I was studying for this podcast.
I had no preparation.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Hey, there's no need to prepare. That's what it's my job really to be preparing.
Do you think that we answered your questions and talked enough about the youth social? Do you think
I
that
do.
you have
Well,
a
my
good
last
understanding?
kind of top is, what do you guys have to say? Your final kind of advice, information, loving words to the masses that are going to be listening to this.
I think that if you are between the ages of 16
16
and
and
30 and questioning whether or not you want to experience the joy of living and without the use of anything and come out and participate, that you can call the youth social line at 716-539-5507, and Jackie will get back to you as soon as she can.
That's
Thank
great.
you.
That's all going in the introduction as well. I'm assuming so anyway. I'll see what the bosses say. But Jackie, what about you? Instead of this reading a flyer, if
That
you
was
could,
not me.
if you could
I'm in so much trouble.
have advice for somebody who is struggling out there, who
I think
is
if you're
looking for help.
Struggling, you should get help no matter if you feel like you're going to be judged or not, because there is help out there, whether it be a peer, a counselor, or just venting to somebody. Like there's always help out there, and you are not alone as much as you may think you are.
I think there's such this, and this has kind of been like my main thing that I want to stop, is there's such this stigma with going to get help psychologically. But physiologically, you get yelled at if you don't go to a doctor and get a checkup. Why didn't you go to your physical? Why didn't you go do this? But psychologically, we think it's weakness, and it's been one of my kind of passions that's been brewing up, is to really get people to stop thinking that way. Going to sitting down with a therapist, going to a rehab, going to a recovery coach, going to a peer advocate, going to anywhere and getting help for your psychological concerns and needs is not weakness. And as far as my experience is concerned, it takes a lot more courage and strength to do that.
I think that we're all, that as long as we're open to realizing the truth in life, right?
Mm-hmm.
That we learned how to walk by someone teaching us how to walk, right? That the best coach has a coach,
Mm-hmm.
the best therapist has a therapist, and that the mutual exchange of ideas and successes and failures and what you did to overcome it really needs to be recognized and talked about. We need to stop living in a bubble and keeping everything under a rock. Talk about what's real, what's really happening. And most of I think that with the stigma, we have to be really careful not to stigmatize ourselves.
Yeah, I agree.
And sometimes with this, when you do have 30 clients, you have to be able to go home and not take their problems upon yourself either.
That's huge.
And, a few years ago, I didn't do that. But now it's, once I leave a client, I leave their problems there. And then the next time I go, I'll, when I get home, I forget completely what we talked about. But once I get back there, I remember everything. It's just you got to be able to help yourself and have self-care as well as helping others.
And that cliche saying, you can't help somebody else if you don't help yourself, is so true, though. It is, because if you don't have anything to give, how are you going to be able to help people?
As a peer advocate, if you're not helping yourself, what do you have to teach anyone, right?
There you go.
I
Absolutely.
can't teach you what I did to overcome something if I'm not doing anything to overcome anything.
And I think in this industry, especially, it is so important to make sure you don't take people's weights personally on. And it's hard because most people who are in this industry to help people are very much well in touch with their empathetic side and want to be able to put themselves in the other person's shoes and want to be able to help. But when you bring that home, obviously you're going to burn yourself out real quickly. And and even like you said about the phone calls, you can call after 4:30. I don't answer my phone. You can leave a message. I'll get back to you at 8:30 the next day when I'm back working. Is super important. It's something I've struggled with myself, just working with 3 different clients, as far as them reaching out to me when they need something or want something. So,
well, we teach people how to treat us, right? And transparency is key. Be honest. Like at 5:00, I need to take care of me.
mm-hmm. Yeah,
We have a
that's
great
super
team.
important.
We have a great team, and Spectrum is really good about the trainings for the self-care. They keep it on point.
That's awesome. Well, thank you guys for coming on. As always, everybody has been awesome here at Spectrum. You guys are awesome. Thank you for what you do. Honestly, it's awesome. And it's really great to sit down with you guys.
All right. Thank you for having us.
All right, no problem. All right, we're signing off. And that is it. Hope you guys loved that episode. Once again, I cannot say enough about the individuals that work at Spectrum. I have a blast with them. I'm very much enjoying to get to know each and every one of them. They're genuine, they're authentic, they want to help. So make sure you reach out to them. If you or somebody you know is struggling with mental health or substance use, you can also get in contact with them at their website, which is www.shswny.org. So be sure to hit them up and use their services because that's what they're there for. As I've mentioned before, they've been around for well over 40 years, and they offer a large variety of quality behavioral healthcare services in not only Erie County, but Wyoming County as well. And I find, honestly, that they take pride in everything that they do and are just completely there to meet every individual and their families exactly where they need to be met at. So if you need help, be sure to go get it. And they are a great organization to get help from. Other than that, that is it. This is the second Spectrum Health and Human Services and Room 9 podcast, and I hope you guys are enjoying it. Have a great week. Stay strong, stay positive. Think you can change, know you can change, then you can change. All right. That's my wisdom for the week. All right. That's all I got, guys. Peace out.